First things first, I feel absolutely compelled to come to the defense of my namesake, who has forever been linked with the sometimes disparagingly used phrase, doubting Thomas. This, of course, comes from John's Gospel today, and it occurs only in John's Gospel. When Thomas proclaims that he will not believe the other 10 unless he touches the risen Jesus. This scene has been depicted in art since the 5th century, and this has contributed to the entry of this phrase into our lexicon. We use this phrase today to describe someone who is unable or unwilling to believe something. Thomas may not have received this moniker at all had he been there that first week when Jesus appeared to the disciples. And we are never told why Thomas was not present. But I'm pretty sure it wasn't because he was making a coffee run to a local establishment. Perhaps Thomas was too afraid to be associated with the group and to be seen with them. After all, their leader had been brutally murdered, and in the aftermath, they may have all been wanted men under the threat of a death sentence. But equally plausible is that Thomas was not afraid, and he was out and about in the streets. Remember, after Lazarus had died, the apostles did not want to go with Jesus into hostile territory. But it was Thomas who said, "Let us also go to die with him." Whatever the case might be, he was not with the others and has forevermore had the rap as the one who doubted. But in fairness, if we are going to remember Thomas as the one who doubted, we should also remember that Thomas was the first to identify Jesus as both Lord and God. But we usually only remember him as the doubter. And from the time span of 20 centuries and from the safety of these centuries, we sometimes are quick to judge Thomas, and we distance ourselves from his skepticism. And we say to ourselves, I would have never done that. That would not have been me, or would we? After all, Thomas was just human, and it was a fantastic claim by the others. It was absolutely unbelievable. And we have the luxury of hindsight, and Thomas did not. But enough about Thomas. Today, near the end of the gospel passage, Jesus takes the opportunity to praise those who have not yet seen, yet still believe. He says they are blessed. They are connected with God. And we are all in that camp of believers. We are, after a fashion, second-generation Christians, the first being those who actually saw the risen Christ. And we profess our faith publicly at Mass, when we pray the Creed, or when we renew our baptismal vows. But I cannot honestly say that I believe in something if my actions are contrary to that stated belief. I cannot legitimately say that I believe in equality for everyone if I deny it to some. I cannot genuinely say that I believe in human rights if I don't speak up for them. I cannot truly say that I believe in mercy if I do not extend mercy to others. If then I say that I believe in God and in Jesus Christ, my thoughts, words, and actions should reflect my belief. If they do not, then my professed belief becomes shallow and becomes merely meaningless, jumbled words. The way I live my life reflects what I believe in the deep recesses of my being. My actions reflect my true belief in God, and they confirm my love of God. In this case, actions certainly do speak louder than words. Today's second reading tells us explicitly what the love of God is, and namely that the love of God is in keeping His commandments. And that word commandments disturbs us, especially as Americans. We don't, as a people, like to be told what we can and cannot do. And often, we view the Ten Commandments as merely a set of stringent prohibitions meant to impinge upon my freedom. But in reality, the Ten Commandments are conditions for living life and are given to us to help us live our lives in right relationship with God and with each other. And we should strive to live them not out of a sense of imposed obligation or fear, but out of a sense of gratitude and love for a God who so loves us. And though they are obligatory for all Christians, we are reminded today that the commandments are not burdensome. Now, we know there are 10 commandments, but do we know the 10 commandments? Sometimes along the way, I suppose we all of us, had to memorize these 10 commandments. And that being said, the ushers will now pass out today's quiz on the 10 commandments. You laugh. If it has been a while since you visited the 10 commandments, here they are. I am the Lord your God. You can't have any of false gods before me. We can't take the name of God in vain. We have to keep holy the Lord's day. We must honor our parents, our fathers and mothers. We shall not kill. We shall not commit adultery, and we shall not steal. We can't tell lies about our neighbors. We can't covet or crave our neighbor's wife. We can't covet or yearn for our neighbor's goods. Those are the 10 commandments. And if it's been a while since you first memorized these 10, don't fear, because Jesus summarized them thusly in 2. First, we must love God with everything we have and with everything we are. We must give it our all, our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And then we must love our neighbor as we love ourselves. And how might these be manifested in our lives? How might we show these? We have only to turn to the corporal and spiritual works of mercy. And I'm not going to give you a quiz on those this morning. But remember, we're to feed the hungry, give something to the thirsty, clothe the naked, shelter the homeless, visit those who are sick or imprisoned, and bury the dead. We are also to admonish the sinner, instruct the ignorant, counsel the doubtful, comfort the sorrowful, bear wrongs patiently, forgive all injuries, and pray for the living and the dead. And when we engage in such activities, our belief is made visible. Today, the first words out of Jesus' mouth in the gospel are, "Peace be with you." And I'd like to echo those words and say, peace be with each and every one of you, and may the joy of Easter remain with you always. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia.